Welcome to the Civic Hub. The Civic Hub is a shared community space for grassroots and small nonprofit organizations working to make lives better for everyone in Waterloo Region. Partner organizations come from a range of fields: environmental justice, democratic reform, arts and culture, anti-poverty, anti-racism, human rights, ethno-cultural and newcomer support, technology, peace and nonviolence, spirituality, and well-being. On the show, we welcome one of our partners to the Civic Hub.
Today we have Heather Majaury of Festival of Neighbourhoods. Hi Heather, welcome to the Civic Hub.
Hi Ritika, how are you today?
Not too bad.
Awesome.
So, how have you been? What have you guys been busy with?
Oh my God, we've been so busy. We are in the final week before we have our end of year summit on November 24th. It starts at noon, and we're hoping that a whole bunch of people from the festival, different neighborhoods, all kind of wander by and get a chance to share information, share knowledge, and get to know each other. So it's going to be a really exciting day. So that's what we've been up to. So we're just in those final stages of getting everybody gathered so we can get them in the room at City Hall Rotunda.
Nice. So this is the first time you guys are doing the summit, right? In the previous years, there was something else that was happening. So
it is. It's happening at the same time of year as our regular celebration. But the Festival of Neighbourhoods we're actually entering our 31st year of existence. So for the last 30 years, we've held a celebration at City Hall Rotunda every November. And this year we thought, we've done 30 years. We've been successful. It's been awesome. So we wanted to maybe switch things up a bit and hold an event where people could together gather and discuss where they would like to see the Festival of Neighbourhoods focus its energies. The best way we felt to do that would be to hold some interactive roundtable discussions. So for the second half of the event, we will be holding those discussions, which will be a real opportunity for neighbors to get together and talk about what they need, what they value, what they would like to see happen in their neighborhoods, and kind of contemplate what it means to realize the 5 pillars of the festival. And we have 5 pillars right now that we try to promote as much as we can. One is the infamous word propinquity, which really means having a sense of kinship and what that means, and that feeling of friendliness and closeness that comes from being in close proximity. Some of the other pillars include kindness, well-being, inclusion, and belonging. So we are going to center our discussions kind of around those pillars as we gather.
Okay. So I was wondering, how would the day actually look like on November 24th? Is it like a full day event or a half day event?
It starts at noon. So at noon till 1, we're going to have a mix and mingle, and we're going to have various groups, including different neighborhood groups, have display tables. So people will be able to come and interact with groups that have decided that they wanted to show either some materials that are related to the causes or the purposes of their organizations, as well as neighborhoods that want to celebrate what they've been doing this past year. So it should be pretty awesome that way, and it's a chance for people to kind of connect and get to know what's available and to start to kind of build interaction and relationships between affinity groups as well as neighborhoods, like people that are living where they live. How can they access some of the awesome work that people have been doing and organizing?
That's very interesting. You talked about 5 pillars that neighborhood Festival of Neighbourhood is really trying to come up, work together. How did these ideas come in place? Where did you think that these 5 pillars are important to bring neighborhoods together?
Well, these pillars come from the joint venture where people get together and talk about what it is that they value. So these 5 pillars came out of the 30th anniversary celebration. They may shift and change over time, which is one of the reasons why we're also having a summit, which is to start to really engage people in that process of self-determining what the Festival of Neighbourhoods will be, is now, and will become.
Interesting. So, do we see more attendance from our political community members in the festival?
Yeah, the festival's always had a place for our councillors with the City of Kitchener to come. And it's a wonderful opportunity for residents of the city to be able to interact with politicals outside of a formal structure. So it gives everybody a chance to kind of just meet and greet each other and build some familiarity as well. Because we all know that, you know, City Hall can come with a daunting feeling for some people. So this is an opportunity for City Hall and the residents of Kitchener to connect without a lot of pressure, but also for the politicals to hear what some of the people in their neighborhoods are dealing with, what's working for them, how they're gathering. It gives them a sense to kind of understand what the challenges are and also what the opportunities are. So it's really great that way. It's really low pressure day. We'll have some light refreshments for people. And then as the day goes in, we'll have some opening remarks and a welcome. Then we'll move into a couple of panel presentations, very, very short, which will showcase some of the experiments we did this year, because this year was a little different than our regular year. We spent some time kind of sitting back and researching and figuring out where we wanted to go next with the festival. And so we're going to be presenting what our findings are, and then we'll be holding the interactive roundtable discussions. So it's going to be a very packed day. I hope it ends at 3. We might go a little overtime, everybody, but we don't hold you captive. You can leave whenever you want.
So if there's a neighborhood member who's listening to this show right now, if they want to attend the event, do they need to register somewhere, or how does it work?
We love it if you can register, just because it helps us kind of plan for the numbers. And you can go onto our website at festivalofneighbourhoods.ca, I think. www.festivalofneighbourhoods.ca, right?
Yeah, we can add the details in our show notes.
Okay.
Course, yeah.
Whew. I should know that. But sometimes when you have a brain blip and you all of a sudden question it, I just had that happen. So anyway, you can go onto our website, which is Festival of Neighbourhoods, and it's quite easy to Google. And on there, you will be able to connect with our Eventbrite, and you can register that way. We also do have a registration list on the website. So if you're used to doing it that way, then by all means, you can do it there as well. If you're interested in a table, you can get a hold of me at heather@waterlooregion.org, and I book the tables. So that's where we're at with that.
And so when you're talking about booking a table, is this for showcasing what your neighborhood does, or is this for affinity groups? What
It's
would people
both.
be doing? Yeah.
So if you have a neighborhood that's been doing a lot of work this year, or you're a group inside a neighborhood that's held some gatherings, we love having those tables, and it gives people a chance to talk with one another and kind of learn from what more established neighborhoods have been doing. So we consider it a time to brag a bit and a time to kind of showcase what you're doing really well. So definitely neighborhoods, we welcome them. Also this year, we're welcoming a lot more affinity groups, wide range of things. We have some Indigenous groups. We have some members of the Civic Hub. We have housing and homelessness activist groups. We actually have the Plan to End Chronic Homelessness, as well as the Lived Expertise Working Group. One's with the city, one's with the region. They're going to have a table. Love My Hood's going to be there. There's going to be a lot of tables, I think, of different groups, some gardening groups. There's a lot. Maybe even CKMS can make their way down.
So a lot of different energies are coming together for this particular summit. So,
Totally.
You talked about roundtable in this particular event. So, how would that look like? And from my understanding, I feel that there would be a facilitator who would be participating. What would be the theme? So, if you could elaborate a bit more on that.
So the roundtable discussions are literally what we mean. We're going to have a bunch of round tables inside the rotunda. They sit about 8 to 10 people at a table, and people will have discussions on various topics. And we're going to have 2 rounds of roundtable discussions. There will be a facilitator at each table that acts like a scribe, and they will take down the reflections that people offer to the discussions, and then they'll present those back to the entire group. So it'll be a chance for people to kind of see where they share challenges and experiences, and where they differ, which is always really, really interesting. Kitchener is growing at a rapid pace. And so what has been maybe shifting and changing very quickly. And so this gives people an opportunity to kind of connect into each other from their silos. We have a tendency in our society currently to tend to operate a lot more in silos. And so what gets lost in that is our sense of affinity with each other across diversity and across differences, and our abilities actually to tolerate that. So this gives us an opportunity to be able to, with each other, kind of take a temperature, touch base, and be in a room with each other in physical human reality, which doesn't happen as much as we would like anymore. So there's going to be these 2 sessions. The first one is going to be, the question is, I, we, us, they belong when? Mm-hmm. So what does that mean within the context of where you live? The second question is going to be, where is it here? What does kindness look like in what contexts? So again, in which contexts within your neighborhood? And let's fill out, what does kindness look like to you from your vantage point, wherever you may, whatever social location you may be in, where you live.
I think it would be a space to possibly have a lot of meaningful and emotional conversations as well, because if you're actually talking about belonging and feelings, I guess there'll be a lot more at stake. So that's pretty exciting for me. Do you get a lot of support from the region, from the city, from other funding organizations to work out on this particular summit?
So the Festival of Neighbourhoods itself is a joint venture of the Social Development Centre and John MacDonald Architect. And so we do get funding from the City of Kitchener. And that really is our funding. We also have some sponsorships that come in. Often Swanson's Home Hardware has been known to sponsor. We had a carpet company, and I don't have their name on me right in this moment, so sorry about that. That has helped us this year with our experiments, and that's our funding. So we operate in quite a, I would call it a fiscally conservative budget. And the city obviously offers the rotunda to us as part of their funding. So, and we love being in that space because this at its essence is about civic engagement. And so being able to inhabit that public civic space has a lot of meaning.
You mentioned a bit about experiments earlier, and that you'll be talking about these experiments in the summit as well. So I want to understand what were the experiments for, and why did you think that an experiment is needed to do a neighborhood event?
Well, the thing is that there's a lot of neighborhoods, a lot of neighborhood associations who've been around for 20, 30 years, and, or 10. They've been around for quite some time. For example, Cherry Park, there's millions, Victoria Park. And they are really successful in what they do. Dune South has also been very successful in what they've done. But where there seems to be a lot more need is with neighbors and neighborhoods where they're not so established, and they're not officially associations. And not everybody wants to be an association. I think it was Mukul on one of our podcasts who was really eloquently spoke to why they didn't want to become an association. So we know that there's a lot of variety inside all of these different groups that kind of come together. And very often there can be individuals living somewhere that really do want to make connections and really have great ideas, but they're operating at a very small level of just gestation of the idea, and they don't know how to start. So we started to think about how could the Festival of Neighbourhoods support those people in being able to just begin and birth something new, where they're not ready yet to say even apply for grants with Love My Hood. At Love My Hood, there are grant applications that you can apply for, $2,000, $10,000, and $30,000, which is awesome. And they are getting a lot of people and a lot of neighborhoods really interested in those initiatives. But sometimes people only need some mentorship, some support, some navigation, and maybe a little bit of money seeding. It might be just a couple of $100 or something. Well, that is somewhere that we thought perhaps we could do some experiments in looking at what could happen with some micro seeding. So that was one of the experiments. Another experiment was in collaboration. The Festival of Neighbourhoods has often been kind of more an amplifier of what neighborhoods are doing on their own. This year we decided to do an experiment with Kaleidoscope, 2-minute play laboratory, to see if we could look at and do more deep engagement with a neighborhood in need. And so one of our neighborhoods in the network is a Better Tent City. So we were able to work kind of in a very deep way with the coordinator of A Better Tent City, Nadine Green, and we created a small 15-minute play that builds awareness around issues of loneliness, climate change, and capacity. And so this was a way to bring people together to look at it from a really very human place and not simply the statistics that we're kind of all used to hearing. And then we did, with the microseeding, we focused on vertical villages, what we're calling vertical villages, which are neighborhoods where there's just huge buildings, and each building itself operates somewhat as a silo. It's private space, but it's a neighborhood within a vertical arrangement. And because it's private space, sometimes the challenges around people connecting and being able to gather can be quite arduous and quite difficult to actually overcome and work through. So we just did some microseeding to see what could happen. And also there's a variety of buildings that exist within vertical villages. Some may be quite affluent and well off. The people are property owners. Others are primarily rentals. And we do know that there is a housing crisis right now. So that also there's a lot of room there for people to connect and to understand their circumstances. And also within vertical villages, sometimes you have cooperatives and alternative ways of owning property together. And so being able to get people to connect across these different ways of inhabiting these buildings is a way to kind of generate, I think, the 5 pillars from Festival of Neighbourhoods in meaningful ways.
And so is this the first time that the vertical neighborhoods are getting incorporated into the Festival of Neighbourhoods?
Totally, yeah. And being considered themselves neighborhoods. What we were looking at was how to internally get people interested in gathering within their buildings, but also then across into third spaces where there is a lot of vertical buildings. So we just picked an area, and we decided to call it the Clemens Lane neighborhood. And because it's such a high density, rapid infill area, that we thought it would be a good place to kind of just do some small experiments. And we had a lot of fun.
I've been hearing a lot about buildings getting renovated. Do you get any kind of input from those people who are part of vertical neighborhood, but are now being asked to get out of their neighborhood? So have you had any interactions with them?
I'm really hoping that some will show up to the summit. That's what I'm hoping, because I think it'll be a really good conversation that will be very robust. With the Social Development Center, because we have eviction prevention as part of our programming, one of the nice things that's occurring is we are finding those real collaborative links with the Festival of Neighbourhoods and the programming that happens at the Social Development Center. So yeah, we include all of those buildings that are experiencing all those challenges.
Nice. So the summit is now on Saturday. It's on Sunday. It's on
yeah.
Sunday, 1 to 3 o'clock, right?
It's actually noon until 3, because we have the mix and mingle first. Anybody who wants a table, we're asking people to show up about 11:30 so they can set up. Also strongly recommend, if you want a table, that you have 2 people there. It just makes your life easier if you have 2 people. We won't turn you away if you only have 1. Also, people do show up. It's a public space. So sometimes people show up and they haven't registered. We very much welcome you to come in. But we do ask and prefer if you pre-register. So that's what happens.
Nice. And do you need any kind of volunteers for that day, or you have enough?
We do. I did put out a call for volunteers, but we're always happy to have more volunteers. We have people for greeters. We have people that help with food. We have people that help with the display tables. If you're interested in volunteering, you can contact me at heather@waterlooregion.org.
Heather, what keeps you so motivated to do this kind of work?
What keeps Heather motivated to do this kind of work? Interesting. I live in a vertical village, number 1. I have experienced kind of that epidemic of loneliness within the tall towers that I wasn't expecting when I moved in, because when I moved in, I was naive to a degree and just thought I was moving on up. And I learned how difficult it is sometimes to make those connections. I lived in cooperative housing at one point, so I understand that. I've experienced homelessness, mostly hidden homelessness, especially when I was a single mother raising my daughter. So I have that understanding as well. I believe that what is really important, no matter where you live, is to create a tapestry of interconnectedness. That's what helps us stay resilient wherever we are. And I think it's almost harder sometimes in urban environments to create that, that way of being. And so that's what motivates me. What else motivates me? People having a good time. That motivates me. I think that's why I think the Festival of Neighbourhoods is a worthy endeavor. I'm interested to see how this summit experiment works.
Okay. We are almost time to wrap up. So any other things that you might want to add at this point in time?
I'm just trying to think. Everybody is welcome to this event. If you live in Kitchener, we would love to have you. There is a lot of opportunity to connect with people you might not have ever even thought you would know. And I think it'll be a really, really fun day.
Thank you. Heather Majaury, thank you so much for coming to Welcome to the Civic Hub. And see you next week.
You've been listening to Welcome to the Civic Hub, where we welcome community partners to the Civic Hub. The Civic Hub is online at civichubwr.org. You can reach the Civic Hub by email at civichub@waterlooregion.org. Welcome to the Civic Hub is produced at the studio of CKMS-FM 102.7 Radio Waterloo. The show is sponsored by the Social Development Center of Waterloo Region. The executive producer is Alexander Petrovich. Ritika Sharmali is the producer and host, and I'm Bob Jonkman. Civic Hub is supported by the Region of Waterloo Upstream Fund. The theme music is A Good Bass by Kumiko from the Free Music Archive and used under Creative Commons CC0 license.